Alright guys, so you already know the drill. We're going to forge out a brute to forge out of this. This is 2-inch stock by 1-inch round. And it is 1085 from Pop's Knife Supply. We're going to go ahead and throw it in the forge and get to forging. I'm going to do a brute to forge. Hopefully I get a 5-6 inch knife out of it. And let's see what we can make. What's up guys, welcome back to the shop. So in today's video we're going to be working on this little knife. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to square it up and start separating some material for my tang. So I started this build quite a few weeks ago. I actually started this little series I was going to do where I was going to hand forge some knives from different size of stock. And I started it up earlier in the year because I had bought that brown stock from Pop's Knife Supply because I want to do some brute to forge knives and essentially just get some more practice on hand forging knives and being able to work the steel and manipulate it the best way I can, because I'm very rusty in that. I can make all kinds of Damascus with my press, but when it comes to hand forging, I'm nowhere near the skill level that I want to be. So I figured that it'd be fun to learn how to forge out these knives from a smaller billet and go increasingly large, because believe it or not, a smaller knife is harder to forge because you're working with such small material and you're working with such small areas that it's kind of easy to miss or kind of easy to deform. And if you move it in the wrong direction, it's a lot more difficult to bring it back, or for example to try to unthin a part that you thinned out too much. So it's a very delicate process that I am trying to learn here. And this comes from the fact that when I first started forging, I built my press and then decided to go with Damascus because as a newbie, I had no idea how to forge or what I was doing. And I went for the pretty stuff first, so I had a few $1,000s and I decided to invest that into a press. This is actually like my third rendition of it. I keep taking it apart and rebuilding it better, because even back then I built this press and I didn't have an idea what I was doing. I had no experience with hydraulics or anything of the matter. So as well as many of you guys, I am assuming started from scratch and said, I'll figure it out, and then just started. So here I am a few years later, and now I'm trying to relearn the basics basically. And I also need to tool up, get better hammers, get more variety of hammers and tongs. And that's an important thing that I'm looking forward to in the near future. So what I'm doing here is I'm just working on thinning and lengthening the tang on this knife. The tang is a little bit longer than what it looks like because I will be grinding a little bit on the blade portion. But I think it's a pretty good tang for a knife of this size, which is about 4.5 to 5 inches. Overall, a nice little knife for peeling apples and cutting little onions and stuff. Alright, so here is what I got from the 2-inch piece of 1-inch round bar. And it's looking pretty nice. The shape, I kind of made it a little bit too tall. On the heel, it is about 1 inch and 3/4. And then it tapers down. And the spine as well tapers down pretty good. I think it's a little crooked, but I'll fix that before I quench it. Overall, I'm very happy with the look of the surface finish. It looks pretty good. Not too bad. And I got a decent little, I'm not even sure what I would call this. It's too short to be anything really chef knife-ish. It's probably going to be right around there. Well, it's going to end up being something around there shape-wise. And it's going to be a nice little blade. It's close to 4 3/4, but we're just going to call it a 4 5/8, 4.5 inch blade. And I guess it's going to be nice for certain little things. I think I did make it a little bit too wide for the size of a knife, but I'm sure somebody will find good use for it. Overall, I'm pretty happy with this one, so we're going to go ahead and get to profiling it and getting it ready for our stamp and our heat treat. So fortunately, there's not a lot of material that I have to grind off, so this portion of the build goes pretty quick. I did happen to lose some footage, which I don't show here because obviously I lost it. I don't know what happened to it, but I do a slight bevel on the knife. Not too much, just a little bit. You can see it right there. And that's just to make sure that I got any kind of carbon off the edge. Alright guys, so we are out of the temper. The knife came out pretty nice. Got a little bit of cleaning up to do, and we're going to go ahead and do our finished grind. I think it looks pretty good, and it's going to be a nice little knife. So what I'm doing here, for anybody who doesn't know, is I'm heating up the tang and I'm going to be shoving it into this handle I have. This is an old handle that I don't use for anything, so I decided to repurpose it for just holding these hidden tang knives. I have a lot of issues being able to properly hold it, so by doing this it just makes it a lot easier to be able to control. A lot of people use pliers or some kind of different jigs or whatever, but I find this method works pretty well for me. So I just shove the tang in there, and if I run into a knife where the tang is a little bit wider, a little bit thicker, I just go on ahead and heat it up, and it's just burned its way in, and it holds nice and tight. So here goes a question to all my knife makers. Do you run into the issue where while you're grinding your knife, if you grind too much on one side, it warps to the other side, and then it just becomes something that you chase and you can't really fix? If so, let me know what you do in the comments down below, because I've been running into that lately and it irritates me having to chase that back and forth and trying to get that nice and straight. And overall, it frustrates me a lot. So I've gone on ahead and gave this guy an acid wash and some muriatic acid, and I did that off camera, but I wanted to show you the difference. So this side is fresh out of the muriatic acid. Most of the crud has come off. It looks pretty good. But once I wire wheel it, this is how the other side looks like. So as you can see, it got all that off. It looks very, very nice and clean, and it looks a lot more presentable. I like the way this side looks and the little shadowy effect, which I'm pretty sure I'll still get with my acid etch. But as you can see, all of this stuff right here, I actually wired wheeled it before I put it in to muriatic acid just to get whatever was already loose off. So by doing that, all this harder stuff to get off stayed, and in the muriatic acid it loosens all this stuff up, because this side here was also like this side before I wire wheeled it. So I'm gonna go on ahead and wire wheel the other side and show you guys, just because I thought it looked pretty cool. Alright, so now with that real quick wire brush, now I am the same on this side. So I think that step is very important to give you a nice clean looking knife. I still need to hand sand this part, but I think that looks pretty good. I'm very happy with that. So next up, I'm going to hand sand it and get ready for an acid etch and a coffee etch, and afterwards we're going to go on ahead and fit up our handle. Alright guys, so the knife has been hand sanded. I have it taped up. It's looking pretty good. Next thing, we're going to move on to the handle. So I have this leftover piece of curly maple, I believe it was, and it's left over from an old project, and it's just the perfect size to use for this guy for a handle. So I'm going to be pairing this guy with this knife, and I'm pretty hopeful it's going to look pretty good. So I want to bring forth a philosophical question. Well, might not be more of a philosophical question, more just like a comment I keep getting whenever I make these kinds of knives. It just so happens that a lot of people don't really like brute de forge knives, because I keep getting a whole bunch of comments of people saying that it doesn't look good, that it's gonna get a whole bunch of dirt, well, not dirt, but like food particles in it, and that they can easily grow bacteria and all kinds of stuff. And I really don't understand people that complain about that. For starters, don't complain, just don't buy one of those. And if you have to complain, I mean, really, all you really have to do is properly wash your knives, and you like don't run into that issue. Just properly wash it, hand dry it, and oil it, and you're good to go. But nonetheless, I will still get those kinds of comments down in the comment section, and they're just annoying at best. But me personally, I really like these knives because it gives it character and it gives it that rugged look. So I really enjoy that in these knives, which is why I make them. And to each their own. I make them because I like them, and if you want to buy one of these, then it's because you like them, and if you don't, then don't. But going back to the build, all I'm doing here is using some Johnson & Johnson paste wax to clean up all the epoxy. Apparently it's really good for dissolving epoxy, which I learned recently from a video by Neil Kamimura, and so I'm using it to clean up all the edges and making sure that all the epoxy gets out of all the pores and all those good areas. Overall, it works pretty good, but the stuff is very hard to come by, so if I find some, I'll scoop it up, and if not, then I'll probably just find another method later. But for now, I found this used Johnson & Johnson paste wax at a thrift store for $2, and it was basically brand new, so I jumped on it immediately. And while I have your attention, I'd like to talk to you guys about something real quick. I like doing these videos, but these videos don't do very well on YouTube, which obviously means that more people dislike them than like them. Obviously, the videos where I do a lot of canister Damascus or any kind of crazy stuff, obviously is going to get better views, and so I do that whenever I can. But I also really enjoy making these kinds of builds where I get to experiment and get to work with bettering my forging skills, and overall it's just fun to do. That's why I do them. So if you'd like to support my channel in any way, you can do so by liking, commenting down, and subscribing. And if you are subscribed, you can go on ahead and hit that notification bell if you haven't already. And that just lets YouTube know that you like my videos, and they should let you know when the videos come out. Though, to be honest, YouTube is very bad about that. The algorithm changes so frequently that what worked yesterday doesn't work today. So it's very difficult getting those videos out, even though I do have a decent amount of subscribers. So if you could do me that favor, I would really appreciate that, and I'll work on getting more of these cool builds ready for you guys. And if you want to help me in a monetary value, you can always subscribe to my Patreon, which is in the description down below, as well as you can head to my online store, link is in the description down below, and see what knives I have available for sale. I will be updating the knives I have on there to include some more recent knives, and I will be lowering the prices on some to hopefully they can sell soon. That way I can get a little bit more income coming in. Overall, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I really appreciate your support, and I will catch you guys on the next one. Peace.